We had not yet gone live yet.
So when did he join? I guess.
All right, we are live. All right, so episode 61. Get ready. Are you gonna copy and paste that? The only one who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. Surprising that Backlot gave so many rides.
What's that?
Surprising that Backlot gave a lot of rides in 2020 or 2019.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked at that one too. But I mean, think about what else they have though. Grizzly's hidden; nobody can find it. Um, Apple's like a capacity nightmare.
You think with the many trains it has, it would it would have kind of cheated the system though, and given the most rides. Oh geez, you put
So
it.
I wonder when they. I wonder when they acquired.
And this private equity firm, is that what is Apex now?
What's that?
Is this private equity firm that they created, did that become Apex?
I don't know. Well, yeah, or associated with.
So Palace had owned Indiana Beach and I guess that's Fantasy Island was not part of Apex.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know when. I can't figure out when those amusement parks were purchased.
All right. Well, I think we can just tell them we don't know. I don't think. I mean, this is good. All right.
I wonder if let me look real quick at Indiana Beaches. Let's see. Resorts. I really want to know when they bought it. Roll with the punches. I don't plan much.
I guess we can try that. All right. We'll do our normal thing, and I'm also gonna be like, I'll probably give you some time because normally it's just me talking the intro, and it'd be good if like, because it's kind of weird how that works. It's kind of like it's James and Bob, and then it's just me, and then it's attraction news, and then it's like halfway through attraction news, then you start finally talking. They're probably like, where's this Bob guy at?
I'm hiding.
So like I'll be like, it's time for another great week of theme park talk or whatever. Or it's time for another great episode or whatever. And you can be like, yeah, I'm really excited or blah 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 or whatever, or bring up
See
whatever.
that? I don't know. That's the thing. I always feel awkward. Like I don't know. I get awkward like saying stuff like that.
Come
Like I don't know
on, you
where.
can talk for hours about dumb like
I
random.
know, but it's like those little like.
I'll say
I
this is
don't.
James Barber, and you'll say I'm Bob Mertz, and I'll say we're having another round of 32, blah blah blah, and you'll be like, yeah, I'm really interested to see the results, and I'm looking forward to finding out what the best year of all time is, and I'm excited for another episode of Kosher Talk or whatever, something like that.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yep. Let's see how this goes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. This is episode 61, February 24th, and I'm your host, James Barber.
And I'm Bob Mertz.
And it's another great week of your source for everything roller coasters. We're continuing our tournament challenge of finding out the best coaster year of all time, and we call this the Battle of the Ages. It is down to the round of 32 now. We had that poll up last week, and you guys voted on what you guys thought were the best out of the years that had made it to the round of 32. And we're actually narrowing it down to now we have 16 coasters left. So we're going to be talking about the round of 32, but really that's already occurred. But we're just going to be discussing the results.
16 years left.
Yeah, we have 16 years left, and this is exciting. We're gonna discover the best coaster year of all time.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how this is playing out. Some interesting results coming up too.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I think we had a couple of upsets, which might surprise some
Yeah.
people. So it's gonna be fun to discuss as always. All right, so let's jump into the first segment of the show. Like always, that's what we call attraction news. See, that was good.
Yeah,
That was better
especially since I had to correct you.
than I said 16.
Yeah, you said 16 coasters.
Ah, I did. That's all right. Whatever. They get the point. Do you think we should re-record that then, or no?
I don't care.
Let's just redo it one more time then, since I think I don't want to sound like a complete moron right off the bat. Whatever. But we know that was pretty good, so we know how to flow it. All right, here we go. You ready? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. This is episode number 61, February 24th. I'm James Barber.
And I'm Bob Mertz.
And it's time for another great show. This week we again have our Battle of the Ages tournament where we are trying to figure out the best coaster year of all time. And we're doing this through a tournament challenge, kind of like how you'll see March Madness with college basketball, where we have a bracket. And we have 4 regions, 2000s and the 1950s, the 1990s and the 1920s and 30s, the 1980s and the 1960s and the 1970s and the 2010s. And we're just listing off years and seeing which years people think were better in terms of historical significance and in terms of the actual rides that they produced. And we've had some pretty interesting results so far, so I'm excited to later in the show talk about those results as we narrow it down to 16 years.
Yeah, this is turning out to be a pretty interesting run. I was really afraid at first that people were going to just kind of like randomly pick
Yeah.
and go with, oh, this is my favorite coaster, so we'll pick that year. But you can tell there's a lot of thought going into this, and I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, and I believe we have some upsets this week, so it's going to be exciting to analyze these results. So we're going to start off the show like normal and start it off with the segment we call Attraction News. Analyze, that's not a word, but all right. Analyze is what I meant, but we'll just pretend
What
like
did you say?
I said analyze. I said analyze instead of analyze. It's pretty close. I just think whatever. Other than that, it was good, so we'll just pretend like I didn't say that. Whatever. I don't know. Do you think we should redo that
You
or
know
no?
what? Can you hold on for 1 minute? Let me go downstairs and see if I have another Gatorade.
All right. I can't believe it. Analyze. Okay. Indiana Beach.
do have another Gatorade, which is good news. Are you still there?
I am.
That's also good news.
That is good news. All right. You ready?
I ran up the steps I probably shouldn't have.
Oh boy. Did you get your exercise in for the day?
Yeah. Well, I haven't taken my medicine today, so like I get worn out really easy.
All right.
All right, I think I'm good.
All right, here we go. It is with heavy hearts that we bring you this news this week. And sadly, we have to start off with this because it is probably the largest news coming out of the coaster industry right now. And that is that two pretty popular parks, I would say. I mean, they're not large chain parks or anything like that, but they're pretty. They've been widely talked about before. With Indiana Beach and Martin's Fantasy Island, they are both closing, both under the same ownership of this Apex Park chain that had owned a couple of parks and water parks. But it is with heavy hearts that we have to tell you guys that they are both coming to permanent closes. These are permanent as well. These are not temporary or anything like that. Indiana Beach has their website up and it says we are permanently closed. Don't ever, like pretty much just it's over. Everything's done. Any link that you try to click onto their website, it's just permanently closed, permanently closed, permanently closed. So it's over. Sadly, Indiana Beach had a good run. 100 years. It was over 100 years old. It's really sad to see, but Apex Parks had just purchased them, I believe, in 2015, and so they have now announced that they do not have the financial ability to keep them up and running. But the rumored coasters that are going to be going for sale, which is good, these are good things because we are going to keep these coasters alive, hopefully, are Steel Hog, Tigger, Silver Comet, Spinning Mouse, and Wacky Worm. All of these coasters, Apex is going to be disassembling in the spring and then taking them to 9 company parks in California and 2 in Florida. So hopefully one of those parks will purchase them and we'll see some of the coaster legacies live on. But it's kind of sad to see 2 pretty well-known parks and 2. I mean, you always think it's always sucks to lose like a chain park, but it really sucks to lose like the smaller parks like these. That I mean, this technically was a chain park, but they started out as family parks, so it kind of sucks to lose those.
I don't know how you'd classify these really. I think they're still mainly independent parks. It's I don't know. This first, let me say, this announcement of Indiana Beach hit me really hard.
Yeah.
This was a bucket list park for me and was one that I was actively planning on going to this season. And it really hurts because one of the things I wanted to ride most was the Lost Coaster of Superstitious Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way that's going to move. You can't really it's kind of like a volcano.
Even if you do it, I mean, it would lose all its charm really with the surroundings. So.
You can take the ride system, but but this is this is such a bizarre scenario. It doesn't really make a lot of sense because this park group is now saying they don't have the financial means to keep running it.
Yeah.
But yet if you go to their website, they say they're actively looking to acquire other parks. There's some weird stuff going on here, or either that or this was kind of a game to begin with and Apex just bought this for assets maybe.
Yeah, because it's strange.
I don't know. It's just weird.
It's strange to acquire a park in hopes of doing, and then like 5 years later after acquiring it, there's no way their financial stability has dropped that low in 5 years. Like I could see if this was like a 10 or 15 year type deal, but I mean this was 2015 that they acquired this park. Fantasy Island 2016. It just seems so strange that in 5 and 4 years that they felt like at one point I mean, 5 years ago they were ready to buy these two parks, and now they have no financial support at all to support them. It's just strange
Yeah,
that big of a
well,
change
I
has
mean,
occurred. I don't know.
I think like there are scenarios. I mean, you look at the situation when Cedar Fair acquired Geauga Lake. Um, that wasn't many years before they decided to close Geauga Lake. There were
I think there was more of a motive behind that.
exactly like well, not it wasn't motive. Like the park was in a situation that Cedar Fair was attempting to revive it, but there was a likelihood they weren't going to be successful at doing it. This scenario just doesn't seem like it wasn't like there was like, I mean, you had Six Flags go bankrupt with Jug Lake. The park was a mess. Things were just a complete disaster
Hmm.
when Cedar Fair came in and took it. Indiana Beach wasn't really in any kind of a
Yeah.
horrible scenario like that. So it just seems weird that like
Well, to my knowledge, neither was Fantasy Island. So
right, yeah, that it's this just doesn't like that. I don't know. This
it
doesn't
just
make
doesn't
sense at
feel right.
all.
It doesn't feel right. It isn't. We never really had heard about like, oh, Indiana Beach might be going under, or Martin's Fantasy Island might be going under. It just these seem like two parks that would always be there. I mean, and always have been there. And it's just
Well, not only that, the other weird thing is that they close both parks at the same exact time.
yeah,
That's the
strange.
thing. Like, how do you have like two parks that weren't really like? I mean, I'm not going to say that they were doing tremendous. They were, making tons of money or anything like that. But parks that weren't really stressed as far as anybody knew,
Yeah.
at least extremely stressed. All of a sudden, like within a matter of, I think it was 2015 and 2016, Apex bought Indiana Beach in 2015 and Martin's Fantasy Island in
2016.
2016.
Yeah.
And like all of a sudden, like those parks just all of a sudden at the same exact time, all of a sudden can't function anymore.
Mm-hmm. It
Um,
seems too good, not too good to be true, but seems to line up a little
yeah,
too.
and the other weird thing is Apex Park Group. Um, it's really hard to find out what they own. They're not like, as far as what they're reporting on their website, they now only own a couple water parks and a bunch of family entertainment centers. Um, so there's that other thing is did they just want out of the amusement park business for some reason?
Hmm.
But the interesting thing about that is the CEO, Al Weber, was actually a veteran of the park, of the amusement park industry.
Hmm.
He was at Paramount Parks. Let me see. Let me make sure I get all this right because this is a really convoluted history.
Yeah, it is.
He was COO of Paramount Parks, I believe, in 1992,
Hmm.
and then he became CEO in I think it was 2002, and then he was with Paramount when Paramount Parks was sold to Cedar Fair. Then in 2007, he hooked up with Mid Ocean. And this is the interesting thing to me is all of a sudden he like Mid Ocean Partners acquires um, Palace Entertainment, and um, they acquired them in 2006. And all of a sudden, Al Weber joins up with them in 2007, and like about a year after they acquired them, Mid Ocean Partners sells Palace Entertainment to Parkways Reunidos. And I believe at that time, Al Weber was temporarily the CEO of Palace Entertainment until they got sold. Um, like that's kind of a weird thing there, just kind of like, I don't know, seems like he does some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but he I think it was right after that he joined Six
Six
Flags.
Flags.
Um,
Hmm.
and I'm not really sure what he did with Six Flags. But then in 2012, he reconnected with Tyler Zakim, who was previously with Mid Ocean, that started his own private equity firm, and they began looking for assets to acquire. And then in 2014, they purchased a bunch of family entertainment centers and other assets from Palace Entertainment, which was some of the parks that he
Had
was
previously
previously
worked with.
involved in
Yeah.
selling. um, and then in 2015 they acquired Indiana Beach, and in 2016 they acquired Fantasy Island. And I'm not really sure what else they acquire, what else they own. Their website just doesn't say too much.
Hmm.
Um, but it's like it's kind of, to me it's kind of weird that this guy kind of like is like floating around this Palace Entertainment thing, and all of this starts happening right at the same time that like the Kennywood GM quits, and like Palace Entertainment seems to be making changes. It's like, I don't know, is there something to that? I don't know. Like it's just kind of a weird timing, and it could be pure coincidence,
Yeah.
but it's just, I don't know, it's just weird. A lot of this is just really weird.
Yeah, it is strange how a lot of these key moments. It seems like almost like this has been like a plan of some sort. I don't know. It just, yeah, it does seem like everything lines up a little too well.
Yeah, and it's kind
Uh,
of weird. This is the other thing that's kind of interesting to me, is the media was saying that the basically the parks were telling the media that in both cases, Indiana Beach and Fantasy Island, they were saying that they were looking for a buyer. They were looking for a buyer and they couldn't find it. I don't remember hearing anything about that. And that's kind of a weird, like, if something is up for sale, somebody in the enthusiast community generally picks up on that. And here's two parks that were supposedly for sale that nobody seemed to notice.
yeah.
It makes me wonder if they really were for sale, or if this is just I don't know. I mean, I would think there's kind of, sometimes if you buy an old car for a certain amount of money, you can part that out and make a ton of money.
Hmm.
And, I kind of wonder if some of that was the intent, just to buy these parks to part them out. I don't know. And none of this is, I don't have any evidence for this. It's just kind of things that I'm thinking through.
Seems like maybe like a likely
Yeah, it's just like,
explanation.
it's always when something weird like this is going on, you try to strive to make sense of it. And like, this is what my brain keeps coming up with, is like, was this the whole intent? Let's buy the parks and part them out. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, it is.
And
It's very
above
strange.
that, it's devastating.
Yeah, it's especially heartbreaking to lose a park like Indiana Beach, which is such a historically. I mean, what was it? I think 19. It opened in the 1920s, so it
Um,
almost 100 years old.
yeah, it was
Uh,
developed by the Spackman family, who owned
yeah,
it from 1926 to 2008. That's a long time
yeah,
for a family
that's
park.
just crazy, and it's just such a historically significant park. So it's always really, 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 really terrible to lose something of such importance like that. And Martin's Fantasy Island's a park that I previously had gone past many times driving up to Niagara Falls for a family reunion that I have every year. So it sucks that I mean I'd been by it so many times, just never stopped by, and now
Yeah,
that
I
is
was there
never
in
gonna happen.
2000. I was there. I got to ride Silver Comet. That was that was a, that was a pretty great coaster. Um, and they also, at the time, I think they had some kind of I think they had a Schwarzkopf Wildcat, maybe,
Hmm.
which I remember being a really fun ride.
Yeah, I mean with Indiana Beach, Steel Hog looks like a great ride. The SNS SL Loco coaster
Oh yeah,
that looked really crazy.
I've been wanting to ride an El Loco coaster like crazy.
Hopefully this gets transferred to some other park, and that way it lives on. But if not, we're gonna have to go to, I believe, Adventure Tome in Las Vegas is the only other El Loco coaster in the United States, if I'm correct. So we'd have to go.
Yeah,
That would have to be the next one to ride. This is terrible news. It's always it's always terrible to report on something like this in the amusement industry, a ride closing, but especially a park closing. And I did not expect this to be something that we'd be talking about.
I do kind of wonder if there is the chance that somebody could swoop in and buy these parks
Yeah, and
still,
I've
or
seen a lot of like petitions and people like there's a change.org poll, which we've kind of discussed before as not really being the most effective way of spreading the word. But, there's been a lot of outrage at this, so I don't think this is quite over yet. I don't think we're going to see the parks revamped, but I definitely think that people are upset by this. And something I've seen a huge outrage about is there are a lot and a lot and a lot of people that have already bought their season tickets to both of these parks, and they are furious. People are really upset. I've seen on Facebook, on news articles I've been reading, and people are leaving comments like, "Where's my refund? I want that." I paid $100 or $50 or however it was for this ticket. People are really upset about that. So I am really curious to see if this money is returned to these people or not. I mean, I can only imagine they're not going to probably be, and that's what a lot of people have been saying, like, you're not going to get your money back kind of thing. I don't know, but I know for a fact I would be very disappointed and upset if, especially upset about the park closing, but also upset about losing a good amount of money and kind of an investment, because you kind of invest money in this park when you give money to them for your season pass, because you're investing your time, you're investing your money, you're investing your summer. You're gonna go to your summer and spend your time there, and then they're just gonna completely bulldoze over that. It's not cool. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that. I'm interested to see if they do end up giving any refunds for the 2020 season.
The thing about this is the owning company is still in business.
Mm-hmm.
So those people that have those complaints could actually take legal action against Apex. I would anyway.
I would think so, and I would definitely be doing that if that was what was happening. If that was happening to me, so I would definitely be like, come on, really? I don't know. I have not heard anything that any talk of them actually giving refunds, because I believe it kind of works like how Cedar Fair is the Platinum Pass or whatever. So I think technically speaking, they could be like, well, you can still go to the other parks in our chain or whatever, because I saw people that were talking about, I'm not going to Florida or whatever. Where are the water parks that they own, that Apex owns? They were like, I'm not going down there. I don't want to, I'm not going to be using this pass anymore, so I want a refund. So I think they might be doing like the old, well, you can still visit the other parks in our, in our chain, so blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I'm curious.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine buying a season pass for an amusement park and being told that you can go visit a family entertainment center?
Or a water park, yeah. Yeah, this is a really terrible situation. And it's terrible that this has to happen.
It's devastating. This is actually way. I don't think I've fully processed this yet, but I actually saw someone make the comment like this is as detrimental as the closure of Volcano.
Yeah, I think it might be really, more. I think it might be more
for me. I don't know. That's still a it's still a tough thing for me to call. But this is really that's the thing. This isn't like we're just losing one coaster. This was a park that had a lot to it.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand the size of this park. It had 6-7 coasters. That's a size of a reasonable chain park. So this isn't like some small little family park with 1 or 2 coasters. Yeah, this park meant. It had a large scale steel coaster, a couple of large scale wooden coasters, and Martin's Fantasy Island had a couple of large scale wooden coasters as well. So these 2 parks are not small by any means. They are definitely larger than a lot of people are. A lot of people might have thought originally before they'd looked into it more. Because before I'd really never looked into Indiana Beach that much. I'd known about some of the coasters they had, but I never really understood that this was. It's a resort. It has a campground. It has all this stuff. It attracts a lot of people in the summer. It is a summer destination for the people of Indiana, and it is definitely a big loss for them.
Yeah, and that was another thing I briefly saw as I was looking through some news articles. I saw, I didn't read the full article, but I saw a snippet of how Monticello is basically like the town, or I don't know, I guess town or whatever. The local jurisdiction is basically going trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that's the thing. It's just this. When a park is struggling and a park closes because it was struggling and couldn't turn around, people know it see it, they expect it. This doesn't. I mean, we even said the volcano thing. I mean, volcano sat dormant for a year before. Even that was like, it was shocking, but the closure of these two parks just seems like there was just nothing. There was nothing precipitated. Like there was no way you could even anticipate this was coming.
Yeah.
And like that's what makes me like it really makes me feel like this was intended. This was the plan. I don't know, either that or they were really good at hiding stuff. I don't know. It just doesn't. Especially Indiana Beach. I mean, Fantasy Island is a big deal, and that sucks as well. I don't want to say like, oh, that's not important, but I mean, in comparison, Indiana Beach was just this is a really big deal. Like that park was, especially in the last few years, like I heard people talking about it more and more and more. Like, so it, seemed like it was growing in popularity. People knew about it. I mean, it just seems like it had nowhere to go but up, but I don't know. It's just weird. Just weird.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because I definitely agree with you. I think this park had a lot of potential, and it seems to have missed out on that. I don't know. Hopefully, hopefully there's some small chance that someone will swoop in and save the day, but I really don't see that happening. So, as for now, Indiana Beach and Martin's Fantasy Island are no longer. All right, I need to find Cedar Fair. That's a lot of stuff to talk about with Cedar Fair. Yep. So, do you wanna like talk about that some or what? So the revenue increased 9%. That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. This was all what I was expecting. We could talk about it a little bit.
The net income has increased 36%.
If you have to drop something, I'd say drop SeaWorld Orlando.
Yeah, let's just drop that.
I mean, it's a fence.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything's pretty... Attendance is up 8%. Per cap spent increased. I mean, I don't really know what half some of this stuff means particularly, so... Like, I don't know what per cap...
Like what?
Per cap spent.
That's the average of how much a guest spends while they're in the park.
Okay. That makes sense. Per capita is like household. That's probably, yeah, that makes sense. Out of park revenue? Does that mean like people buying tickets and stuff like outside of the park?
No, that's gonna be like their like Castaway Bay, the Sportsplex.
All right.
Things like that.
Accommodations.
That's like Hotel Breaker stuff like that.
So then they have their negatives. Their Q4 per caps down. What is EBITDA?
I don't know.
Do you know what that means?
No.
ADJ EBITDA is that an increase?
Let me see. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Oh.
So that's what they earned before they paid
taxes
and crap.
So their negatives are Q4 pretty much. Their stocks are still up. Season pass sales are up. Unique visitors is up. How do they check? What do they consider unique visitors?
That would be like if I
People
go
out
3
of the country
times,
or whatever.
it's still only counting as one.
All right. But I thought, all right, that makes sense. Season pass, 53% of attendance, which is increased to about 50%.
This next point, Wonderland Winterfest major success. 2/3 of attendance are single day tickets. Do you realize how like insane that is?
Yeah. Well, that's just for Wonderland.
Yeah, I know, but like that's the thing. It's like what is going on at Wonderland? That's like because like people, I don't know. Maybe it was just a new thing and people wanted to experience it.
I think that's probably what it is.
But I mean, you think about it, Winterfest, like the majority of people that go to Winterfest are pass holders. You don't travel for Christmas events that often. I mean, we may, but like the normal person doesn't.
Yeah. So
But see,
King's
like,
Dominion
well,
doesn't say anything about King's Dominion either. I feel like
they don't want to say anything about King's Dominion.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. What is KB?
Knott's Berry Farm.
Why would that not be KBF?
I don't know.
It's kind of weird. Reiterated it. I didn't even know Canada's Wonderland was getting a hotel.
Huh?
Canada's Wonderland was getting a hotel.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, that was announced a while ago.
I'm sure, but I just hadn't heard about it. So what exactly does this mean? Cedar Fair again talked about increasing free cash flow and getting balance sheet in order to reduce leverage below 4x. To be able to take advantage of acquisition opportunities if they arise. What does that mean? I'm not really like in lingo with
Well,
like
it
stocks
sounds
and all
like
this stuff.
they want to get into a position where they can acquire other parks. I
Yeah, that makes sense. I
I
mean, I
think
understood
what
that part, but what is it? What is the reducing leverage below 4x? What does that mean?
I'm not sure what the leverage. I'm assuming it has something to do with like how much cash they have. Well, it says if you look up cash, 192 million, and they're 2.15 billion in debt. I don't know how you figure leverage, but it has something to do with how much cash you have on hand and how much you owe.
So how much they can spend, kind of.
Hold on, let me see. Leverage.
Yeah, they're in debt 2.515 million. They have 192 million dollars cash. Oh, I think it means like look at this. I think 129 million times 4.3 would be like I think that's how much kind of like how much not how much debt they're in, but
It's a debt ratio.
yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, a leverage ratio is meant to evaluate a company's debt levels. The most common leverage ratios are the debt ratio and the debt to equity ratio.
However, if it's times 4.3, those don't like the 2.515 billion doesn't.
Yeah, I don't that yeah, the four yeah. That was kind of confusing me too. Like that doesn't seem to
It doesn't add up. Whatever. We don't need to talk about the leverage. We can just talk about the numbers.
I mean, you could we just I mean, it's basically we could just say they want to get into a position where
They can acquire some
their
parks.
debt ratio is better.
Yeah. They have more money to spend under their debt, or despite their debt, kind of thing. They want to get it under control a little bit. Do you want to start off this and kind of go down, because you seem to know?
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of jump into as well.
You want me to start?
Yeah, all right. I'll tell you when. So what did I say? I said, hello everybody and welcome to I did not say hello everybody and welcome to Kosher Talk. That's the wrong one. Let me see what I was saying this, so you can kind of jump in from what I was saying.
I could just say, so let's move on from
Indiana Beach and Martin's Fantasy Island are no longer.
Better news.
Yeah. And all I said was Martin's Fantasy Island and Indiana Beach are no longer. Maybe say like, all right, let's lighten up the mood, James, or something like that. Not even lighten up the mood, but let's change. I don't know. Yeah, lighten up the mood some.
Okay, let's change gears.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Wait, no.
All right,
Hojo.
What?
Wait. All right. 3, 2, 1.
All right, let's change gears here a little bit and talk about something that I kind of called.
I think you called it on this podcast as well.
Yep, but my predictions still are to be seen if they pan out. Cedar Fair released their Q4 and full year earnings, and they killed it according to the books, which is kind of what I was expecting. I mean, right now, in my opinion, Cedar Fair is focusing so much on the books that if they screwed this up, it would have been really bad. Their revenue was an increase of $126 million, or 9%. Their net income increased $46 million, or 36%. Their attendance increased by 2 million, and that's an 8% increase. Their unique visitors alone were a 1 million increase, or 6% increase. Their per capita spending, which this is something I specifically talked about on a previous episode, their per capita spending is an increase of 63 cents, or 1%. $48.32 is their per capita. This is, for those that don't know, the per capita is basically the average amount that a person going into the park spends on things like food, souvenirs, stuff that's aside from your admission.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that I've been saying with Cedar Fair, like the prices of the in-park food has skyrocketed, at least at King's Dominion, and I think across the board. But you're kind of in that position where you forced your per capita to skyrocket because you increased the cost of everything. This works for a while, but what my fear is, what I think is going to happen is people will start making other plans. So if you're going to the park, you're just going to walk in and you're just assuming that you're going to buy 2 meals at the park. It's all the way it's always been. That's what you've always done. Well, this year, there's probably a lot of people that had shell shock and, from the price or sticker shock or whatever you want to call it. And they just kind of went, wait, we can't do this. So now over the next couple of years, I think people will make adjustments and plan on avoiding those purchases, which can actually put them into a position where that per capita will plummet and they can't actually just inflate it like they did this time. Continuing on, though, their out-of-park revenue increased 16 million, or 11%. Accommodations increased 19 million. And there's a shocker that people are going to be like just totally surprised by. 2020 season pass sales on all season products are up 40% from the same point last year. Cedar Point Gold Pass, anybody?
Yeah.
But it's not a contributing factor to all the crowd, right?
Yeah.
They did actually note that the Cedar Point Gold Pass was a major contributor to the double-digit increase. But they did say there was an increase across the chain as
Yeah, which
well.
is good.
Season passes were 53% of attendance, which is an increase from about 50% in 2018.
2018.
2018.
Which is strange because they did they not, why are they referring to the 2018 numbers? Did they not release 2019 numbers? They do this every 2 years or what?
Well, this was attendance. I mean, yeah, I mean this is
Ah,
the
this is
2019
2019
report.
season. Yeah, it is indeed.
Um so yeah. It's interesting. I mean, this is kind of what I was expecting to happen with Cedar Fair. Um, the thing that scares me is if you focus on the books this much, um, a lot of times the experience suffers. And once people start realizing the experience is suffering, it's really, really hard to change your focus back. Um, and you kind of get caught in a downward spiral. Um,
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't come to that. I love Cedar Fair. I want to see them continue. Um, but it's just concerning to me. What for me, what's going to be more interesting is what the like 2025 and 2026 numbers are going to look like,
Yeah.
because that's what I think Cedar Fair is set for the next few years. I think their books are going to look phenomenal. Because they're just setting. I mean, you look at the things that they're doing with like the Cedar Fair Gold Pass or the Cedar Point
Cedar
Gold
Point.
Pass. Like you do something like the Cedar Point Gold Pass, and your numbers can't be bad. I mean, there's just no, you're gonna inflate your numbers, or that's just gonna be the result. But the problem is that's not sustainable, because the people that are like, oh my god, we could get a gold pass for $99 or nine was it $99? Yeah.
Yeah.
um, they eat that up, but like give it 3 or 4 years, and they're like, yeah, we're over this. It's not that exciting anymore.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And something they talked about as well is that they talked about something that was new this year is Canada's Wonderland's Winterfest. And they talked about how that was a very big successful event. However, which was something that's strange that you brought up earlier, was that only about 2/3 of the attendance were single day ticket sales. So
Yeah,
that's really strange because
crazy.
referring to their other numbers across the chain, it's 60% pass holders. So that means it is 40% single day holders normally, and this is close to 66% single day holders. So our single ticket day passes. So
Yeah,
it's really
it,
strange.
it really it really makes me wonder what happened at Wonderland.
Yeah, I mean, where did all the pass holders go?
I kind of wonder if this was not so much that the pass holders, like, I wonder if this was just like such a new thing up there that people that weren't normally going to parks kind of went, oh, this sounds cool, let's check it out.
Yeah.
um that's the only thing I can really figure. I mean, it's like winter events are great for passes and boosting your pass sales, and getting some single day tickets as well. But like it's a way of getting your pass members into the park to spend more money again. Um, it's like you don't normally see a lot of people. Like generally the winter events are basically locals, and they're people with the season passes, because I think a lot of people don't want to spend 30-40 bucks to go to an amusement park in winter. But if you already have the pass, oh yeah, let's do it.
And I'm not 100% sure if this is like Busch Gardens Williamsburg. They do not like their pass does not count towards the winter event. I don't know if I know Cedar Fair, like Kings Dominion, Kings Island, you can get into the winter event with your pass. I'm not sure if Canada's Wonderland was the same case. Maybe it was something like Busch Gardens where it just gets you free parking, and so technically, well then I guess
No,
that isn't
all of
add
Cedar
up.
Fairs do the same
Yeah,
thing.
because then that
Busch
wouldn't add up.
Gardens kind of comes at it from a different angle.
Yeah, they just make it a lot cheaper, and they give you free parking. Um, I don't know. It's strange, yes. And in other news, the California parks were down in numbers, but that was expected because of some unfortunate weather that they had in California. But overall, Cedar Point, Kings Island, Knott's Berry Farm, Wonderland, are near record results, which again you had expected, and I had expected they were going to be doing pretty well as well. So, um, all things good. It's strange, and we both mentioned they didn't really mention King's Dominion, which is kind of ironic, kind of funny. I think there's something there probably that
Yeah,
they don't feel like sharing, but
King's Dominion is not a priority for Cedar Fair anymore.
yeah, sadly, I think those four parks right there, Cedar Point, Kings Island, Knott's Berry Farm, and Wonderland, are their four like hit. Those are the four stars of the chain right now.
I think Carowinds is up there too.
Carowinds is up there too as well. Yes, that's not included on there, but they didn't really talk about Carowinds either, which is a little strange.
No, yeah, that's kind of interesting. The one other thing they did say that was kind of interesting is they talked about increasing their free cash and basically getting to a better debt ratio so that they could take advantage of acquisitions if the opportunities arise.
So they can buy some more
So
parks. Ooh.
yeah, but I mean, doesn't this sound like a Six Flags thing to you?
Yeah, but at least they're trying to get in a financially stable position before they.
Oh, I mean, definitely, absolutely. But it just seems like their motives are
Yeah, it seems like
getting
they're
a lot
twisted. It
more
seems
Six
like,
Flagsy.
yeah, it seems like a lot more corporate, by the books stock. Increase in revenue more than actually improving the experience of your guest. It definitely seems more like a money oriented corporation now than it is like.
And that's the thing. I think that for me, Cedar Fair had always been the park that I mean, they paid attention. They had to pay attention to business. I mean, you have to make sure you succeed, but they also like their sole focus wasn't there. They had a lot of focus on the experience and you know just guest satisfaction and making sure people were having a good time and increasing the thrill and giving people reasons to keep coming back. um Now that's like they're coming at this. I mean, you look at Six Flags. Six Flags doesn't build major attractions to keep people coming back. They do deals and they do these gimmicky things
Yeah,
that you know bring people in, but they don't sustain. They're just like these sudden boosts.
yeah,
And Cedar Fair was never about that, but now they seem to have a huge focus on that stuff.
indeed, and again, it's sad to see. I mean, it again they're doing well performance wise, but I think they need to definitely focus back in on improving individual guest experience over like making a profit. It definitely seems like
Right.
a pretty profit minded corporation. I still think it's really strange. I mean, they just spent $30 million on a roller coaster at Carowinds with Copperhead Strike, and they provided no numbers for that. I mean, I'd read a lot of people were like very nervous about that. I'd read on Reddit and on Instagram, and people were like, "Why didn't they talk about Carowinds at all?" And now that we just kind of mentioned that earlier, I just kind of clicked in my mind. It's very strange that they did not mention any results. I mean, it's a record-breaking coaster. It's a big deal for Carowinds, and
I think
it's
I personally think the thing is that they're well, I think Copperhead Strike and Orion were rides that were in the works before they had their change of view. Um, so I mean, obviously they came to fruition, but I, I just feel like Cedar Fair has taken this stance that major attractions don't increase attendance, and they're not that interested in them anymore. And this is the problem when like you you can't like when you get so focused on the books, you you want to make everything equate to a line item. So you want to be able to say, "Oh, we built this ride, so now we can equate that to this many visitors. Like this ride brought us, you know, 800,000 new visitors." Um, but you can't always do that because it's a gradual thing at times. Like, I mean, you think about the times that a ride has been built. Like, I'll see parks in the middle of the United States build this ride, and I'm like, oh, I want to get there. I'm not going to get there this year, but I'm going to eventually get there, unless my motivation for going to that park dwindles. So you have to keep the parks new and fresh and exciting even if you're not seeing that because there's that long-term buildup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what Cedar Point has always been. It's like there's always something new there, even if you don't go there every year. Maybe you're a person that goes to Cedar Point every 3 years. If you quit building stuff, well, now all of a sudden, people that go to the park every 3 years, all of a sudden might go to the park every 6 years now. So you can't just like say, oh, it's worthless to build these rides because every year we build a ride, we don't see a huge increase in attendance. That's not always the case.
Yeah, and again, it's something that Cedar Fair needs to really start focusing on is again improving the individual experience, because I mean that's what we see with SeaWorld, and even on somewhat level, the other small like Hershey, that those kind of parks, they are very based on and trying to improve individual and improve like small little details and things like that that make the park overall better, not just
Right.
numbers. And
Things to continually look forward to, even if you
exactly,
don't go to that park every
even if
year.
you don't add a big coaster, you don't have to. We're not saying add a coaster every year to every park. We're not saying crazy things like that. We're just saying add a little something uh, valuable and new and different and interesting and unique and good for that park. Make it fit for that park. Sometimes, because it seems Cedar Fair's just kind of throwing stuff in there. It very much does seem like that. They're kind of like with King's Dominion, we're getting like a new kiddie wave pool and stuff like that. Like that wasn't really like at all necessary, I don't think, or it doesn't
Yeah,
really
it's not
it
like
doesn't really improve upon our park at all. So that's my opinion. I don't know. I just think that it needs to be more. Um, I don't. It needs to, when you add stuff, it needs to really build upon what you already have, and I don't think that was at all needed. I mean, we had a pretty solid kids attraction beforehand, and now it's just kind of like, hey, let's just kind of redesign it a little bit and call that a new
yeah.
attraction.
Well, I think the bigger problem with King's Dominions, uh, the bigger problem there is that it's not an issue of them not adding stuff. It's a negative. We're losing stuff, and
Yeah,
the park is starting to feel empty in comparison to what it used to be.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying with adding this to the water park too. I mean, we've lost so much in the dry
Right.
park,
Right.
and
Exactly. And I think water parks aren't really drivers for the dry parks are what bring people into the area. Water parks are mainly for the locals, I think, for the most part.
yeah, and especially
Because
with
you
King's
don't,
Dominion, it's not even like a separate water park like Cedar Points and other
right,
parks. This is like connected. You have to actually go through the dry park and walk over to the water park. So majority of your guests are not coming for the water park. Majority of the guests are going to be there for the amusement park,
right,
and then they might
exactly.
decide, oh, there's a water park. Let's jump on in and get it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, King's Dominion needs to do stuff with the dry park. Definitely, they need to add some stuff that's relevant. Um, but I mean, their other parks right now aren't bad, but if they're not going to continue investments in major rides like they used to, like, I mean, if Cedar Point doesn't add a pretty decently sized coaster in the next few years, they're going to lose a lot of attendance in the few years following that. Um,
Yeah,
because I think with these parks that bring people in from distances, they're in cycles. They may go every few years, and you have to remember that. Like, you know, you don't have to add a major coaster every year, but you know you need to have something there for those people that whenever their cycle comes around, they're every 4 years, whenever that fourth year comes around, if you don't have anything new, people might say, oh, wait, this other, SeaWorld just
yeah.
added two coasters. Forget Cedar Point this cycle. We'll skip it. We'll do 8 years now, and we'll go to SeaWorld instead.
Especially when they're trying to make these parks destination parks for people to come, out of state
Right.
and stuff like that. That's a big deal, and especially with, I mean, we've talked about again with Carowinds, that is kind of being called the Cedar Point of the South at this point. That's what a lot of people are calling. That's what Cedar Fair is kind of focusing on that park in the southern area of the United States,
Yeah.
and trying to make that like a destination park. And they are doing. I mean, they just added a great ride there and stuff like that. But it has to be continuous, and it has to be. I think it really has to add value to the park, and so we shall see how Cedar Fair improves upon some of their other parks. But you got to do that with. That's the problem, is that they're going to put their all their money and all their effort towards 3 or 4 parks, and they have 12 parks. You can't do that. You gotta show love to each and every park.
I think the situation there is Cedar Fair is looking at, they're really separating out parks that are destinations and parks that are just going to be local parks.
And parks that not only are going to be just local parks, but parks that they're not going to put anything into. I mean, some of these parks haven't been touched in 10, 15 years. It's crazy. I mean, the Michigan's Adventure has gotten nothing, I believe, in the last 15 years, 10 years, something like that. I mean, that's a long, long time to not have any not even, I'm not saying a roller coaster or anything like that, any major attraction at all, any major upgrades, nothing. It's just, that's just not what you want a theme park operator. That's not what you want out of a theme park operator.
I don't know. I see both sides of that coin. I mean, there is a point for regional parks, and I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that. Like, I think they're getting the new kids area, which for a local park, that is a big deal. But
the thing is,
Michigan's Adventure would take so much money to make it a destination park that
I'm not saying make it a destination park. I'm just saying you got to add something, not a roller coaster in particular. Add a drop tower, add something. Add a flat ride, a fun, like a scream and swing, something like that. It doesn't have to be major or anything like that. Just something large. I mean, with this kids area, it's like 3 kiddie coasters, and they even tried to like put in the promotional picture. There's like a roller coaster there, and it's like, hey, they're getting a new roller coaster, but it turns out they're just like redoing the one they already had there, and they just kind of threw that in the promotional pictures, and everyone kind of thought it looked like a new coaster, but it wasn't really. That's just kind of a cheap way to like bring in guests. Like, it looks like a new coaster, but it's really
I definitely agree. But I don't know, in the enthusiast community, this is a problem that happens a lot. We don't really necessarily know what the locals are thinking. We know what the enthusiast locals are thinking and what the enthusiasts are thinking. And I know I want to see Michigan's Adventure add a ton of stuff because I want more of an excuse to go ride Shivering Timbers.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not necessarily what the locals are thinking.
I am pretty confident that the locals at this park would be very gracious if they received a major thrill attraction, not even a roller coaster, not an insane, it doesn't have to be crazy tall or anything like that, just a solid flat ride or a solid, thrilling attraction. I guarantee you that there would be a positive response to that. And I mean, obviously there would be. I know you're not saying that there wouldn't be, and that they'd be upset or anything like that. But I think that they would definitely. I'm sure a lot of locals are probably like, yeah, nothing's really happened at Michigan's Adventure. I mean, we've heard that with King's Dominion, just a couple years ago, before they added Twisted Timbers, we hadn't really gotten anything new. I mean, we got. I had heard that from many locals. My friends at school had said that.
There's a couple different things. One, we're Virginians. We're on the East Coast. We know more of the mentality of what's here. That's the first thing. The mentality might be different in Michigan.
It could be. I definitely agree with that.
But the more important thing is King's Dominion's issue, it's not that we haven't added, it's that they've subtracted. Michigan's Adventure hasn't lost anything. I'm
talking about before we even removed Volcano or Hurler. Before that, people were still wanting something from King's Dominion. Because even then, I
think a lot of people really loved King's Dominion, and it wasn't really a big demand.
It wasn't. King's Dominion slowly has lost popularity, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm not talking about it. People did love King's Dominion back then. I'm talking like 2016, before Hurler got closed permanently, and before Volcano was closed permanently. I'm just talking about people wanted. It had been almost 7 years then since Intimidator 305, and this park had gotten nothing. So that was just people were wanting something new. And I'm not saying that Michigan's Adventure in particular, the people there, are craving a new rides. They might not have the same mentality like you're saying, but I guarantee you that a lot of them would be very, very happy with getting a new attraction, and I'm sure there are a good majority of people out there that do want a new attraction of some sorts. Again, not crazy expensive or major or making this a destination park, not a resort or anything like that. I'm just saying I definitely think this park would benefit from a solid thrill ride, and I think it would improve guest experience, which I think is important, and I think Cedar Fair needs to see that, and I think it would improve probably some revenue at that park. Because I don't know, the park has gotten like literally nothing. It's kind of sad. I mean, you look at their coaster collection, and it's really like it's kind of a pathetic collection of rides that they have up there. It's like a
Michigan's
SLC.
Adventure is an extreme. I mean, I will say that it's an extreme situation, but you also got to look at there's a lot of little parks, independent parks that haven't got things for over a decade, and they're still, the locals still love them.
Yeah, I'm not saying I think Michigan's Adventure probably still greatly received in Michigan, but I'm telling you that they probably are like, yeah, this is great, but can we get something new now? Like I'm sure they still love it. I'm confident that everyone still has a positive, thoughts on Michigan's Adventure, because it looks like a Cedar Fair. One thing they do well is, even though they don't really give much attention, they keep their parks up nicely. Valley Fair, Michigan's Adventure, all those are the two parks that are Dorney Park. They're always considered like the lower end of the Cedar Fair chain, but I mean Dorney Park was beautiful. It was well kept. I mean everything. So I'm sure that the people still really enjoy the park and still think it's a good park, but they just are probably wanting some more.
Like, I wouldn't mind if Dorney adds a coaster, but they don't need to.
Well, with Dorney, I'd say they definitely don't need one. No, not as nearly as much as Michigan's Adventure. Because with Dorney, you have newer steel coasters that, even if they're not, they haven't gotten one in a couple of years, it's still that they feel new, like Talon. It's vibrant. Hydra, it's very like up-to-date modern coaster. They don't have any of that at Michigan's Adventure. It's all like old steel looping coasters and then a wooden coaster that opened in like 2005. So it's not like they don't really got much up there. So, and it's been a lot longer of a drought for Michigan than it has Dorney.
No, it definitely has. But I'm just making the point that it's not necessarily a need for that park. Like, I don't fault Cedar Fair. Like I said at the beginning, I get both sides of that coin.
Yeah,
I understand both sides of it.
Yeah, and I think we've reached our carrying capacity for that segment. But yeah, I definitely think Cedar Fair again needs to become somewhat of a more individual experience based corporation, and instead of looking at the books and looking at the numbers and looking at the revenue, because that's a slippery slope, as you've stated.
Yeah.
So in other kind of sad news, it seems like that's pretty much what this has been full of.
Yeah, it's a sad podcast.
It's a sad. Hopefully, you guys are on some antidepressants out there, because if not, this is pretty tough to cope with. Another pretty significant ride is closed. Sky Dragster was a steel-powered coaster located at Skyline Park in Bavaria, Germany. It was the first installation of the new type of coaster from Mauer Rides called the Spike Coaster. So it was the prototype ride. It had just opened, I believe, in like 2014, 2015. Or it might have even been later than that. I think it actually was like 2016 or 2017, I believe. Whatever. It opened relatively, like 4 or 5 years ago, whatever, something around those lines. And it is now closed. And it's strange because I remember watching it. It was a prototype ride. Everyone was very excited about it. It looked very cool and unique. And yeah, it is now officially closed, and it's no longer going to be in operation.
Huh. The interesting thing is RCDB does not have an opening date for it. Oh, no. There it is.
Yeah, I see it.
2017.
So yeah, spring of 2017. The first powered by the new the first ride powered by the new Spike technology, which is interesting. So I mean, this is a very interesting concept. It's a powered coaster. So I mean, technically speaking, we wouldn't consider this a coaster credit, but it is still, it's an interesting concept, and it's something that is definitely looks really cool and unique. And it just sucks to.
I heard somebody saying that. I haven't confirmed this, but is this this is possibly the model that they're putting on the cruise ships?
It is, yes. That was, this is the model they're putting on the cruise ships.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's not really.
If this one was having issues on land.
Yeah, now we're taking them out into sea. I don't know. it's just strange. I mean, this ride isn't. I don't feel like this would be like that big of a maintenance nightmare or anything like that. I don't know what the reasoning behind this is. It's not a very large coaster. It doesn't really have. I don't see. I mean, it didn't have technical
Well,
difficulties or anything like that. So
I think it's probably more to do with the. I mean, you have a motor on board that's being powered by. I'm assuming a pickup from the track. I mean,
by
almost like a subway type thing.
it's a motor. Yeah.
As you can look, if you look at the pictures, you can see rails like almost like power rails
Yeah.
running on the track. So, um, I mean that there could well, I mean you think about that though. That's every single car has a motor. I mean, a typical roller coaster, you just have a motor on the chain lift, and I mean aside from pusher motors and stuff like that, like you have one major motor. This is every single car has a motor.
Yeah, but I feel like this would be. I mean, in relative comparison to other small attractions, I feel like this would not be that expensive. I think this, I mean, especially with this park. This park is Skyline Park operates some other large scale coasters, so I feel like this might be like some sort of maintenance issue or something like that. Because I mean, it's not. I don't think it has anything to do with cost or anything like that. Because this park again is not like a small park that was willing to. I mean, they spent some good money on some other attractions, so I don't know if this is a money thing in particular, like it's a cost thing. I don't know. I mean, we have no way of knowing, really.
Yeah,
But it is interesting and it is sad because this was a prototype ride and it was a pretty big deal when it opened. I remember seeing a lot about it. You don't normally get, international coasters, especially when you think about this is a really tiny coaster, but this made like international coaster news. I remember watching the POV of this and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And now it's spread to it's influenced. It's going on the
wow.
cruise ships and stuff like
It has
that.
a capacity of 400 rides per hour. That's small.
It is very small. It's a small ride. But this park, I believe, has one of the. It has another large coaster, I believe. So can't.
Yeah, they have a couple. They have a Schwarzkopf.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a park full of good attractions and large attractions. So I don't know cost or what, but regardless, it's sad to see that a prototype ride and a ride that opened so shortly ago is reached its end. So that's about it for this segment of attraction news. We're finally gonna kind of break this depression chain that we've been going on here. I know the past couple of stories have been kind of a mental scar, but we're gonna move on and we're talking about some more positive things, and we're gonna count down the top 5 most popular attractions at 2 of our favorite Cedar Fair parks. All right.
You want there's something really interesting on the RCDB page for this park.
What?
Their Schwarzkopf
Mm-hmm.
is listed twice in the park. And it's actually listed as a relocation from Skyline Park to Skyline Park.
2 credits.
And it's weird. I don't know. I don't understand. Like, it was removed in 2014, and then it was installed in 2015. That's just weird.
Maybe it closed for some sort of maintenance detailing and then they reopened it. I don't know.
No, it was moved in the park.
Yeah, they might have relocated in the park after some maintenance work. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's kind of weird. Like, why would RCDB list that as a move?
I don't know. RCDB does some weird stuff sometimes. All right. So do you want to do King's Dominion first or Carowinds?
What's that?
King's Dominion or Carowinds first?
I don't care.
Eeny, meeny,
King's
mo-
Dominion, I guess.
All right, King's Dominion. All right, here we go. So King's Dominion and Carowinds, 2 parks that we just kind of talked about that didn't really release any numbers, did actually release some kind of numbers, and they released their ridership numbers for how many total rides their attractions gave. And they listed their top 5 most popular attractions, and they listed the actual amount of rides that each ride gave in the 2019 season. So at King's Dominion, we're going to start off with King's Dominion. Carowinds also did theirs, but we're going to start off with the home park of both of the hosts of the show. Number 5 is Backlot Stunt Coaster, which is a small kind of family launched coaster, which gave, surprisingly, the 5th most amount. I was really surprised by that made this list. 497,773 rides. Yeah, it's surprising because you think how many other coasters we have. That just never really reached my mind. I mean, Anaconda.
I guess if you put it in perspective, though,
Grizzly.
I mean, what else? This is the problem. Our instincts are still there. Of like King's Dominion has so much, but then when you actually start thinking about it, you're like, wait.
Yeah,
no,
we don't have Shockwave. We don't have Hurler. We don't have Volcano. So really, yeah.
Yeah, apple's apple. Just the capacity. There's no way they could get there. Grizzly, nobody can find Grizzly ever, so it doesn't have ridership.
Yeah. And surprisingly, number 4 was Twisted Timbers, and I was very surprised by this. I thought this would be top 3 for sure. 607,187 rides. So, I mean, still a good amount of rides, but I did not. That was significantly lower than I thought it would be.
Well, you take into account the horrible operations it's had this year.
Yeah, and the downtime it had at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, those are definitely contributing factors.
Yeah, I think.
So, I mean, if you think about it, it can kind of make sense.
Yeah, but I guess just in perspective, how much I rode it, I did not expect that. Number 3 was Rebel Yell, or Racer 75, as they list on their website. I'm still calling it Rebel Yell. That gave 616,386 rides. So this and Twisted Timbers were relatively close in ridership numbers. They said this is both sides combined. So this is I don't know if you can. I don't know how I consider these 2 different credits. So I guess technically speaking, you could, if Bob, you would consider this. I guess you divide it by 2, and that would be your total.
I counted as 1 credit for both sides, so.
Oh, okay.
That's how I would count.
So, but are they 2 different rides? So then that's 2 different ridership numbers being combined to form 1 ride, or is it?
Well, no. See, I counted as 1 ride.
I know. So how do you take into account if they're two different ride experiences, though? How are you getting these numbers then? Because if it's 1 ride, then how are they giving you? How can you double these numbers like that and combine them?
Well, that's the combined. Well, the problem is King's Dominion only runs 1 side most of the time, anyway.
Yeah, I mean they do.
But I mean, they just combine the numbers. It's not like.
I'm just trying to kind of hold you to the point. I think if you're thinking logically here, if it's not 2 different rides, if it's 1 attraction, then how can both sides be combined to form? I mean, because if it's 1 ride, then there can't be 2 different rides that combine to equal 1. You know, I mean that doesn't make logically.
So, I mean, you're talking to me specifically.
Yes, yeah, that was more of the credit argument that we've had for a long time.
That's the way I see it. They're a mirror image.
Yeah, I know.
Now, like there were like Rolling Thunder at Great Adventure. That I counted twice because the 2 layouts were completely different.
Yeah, I still disagree. It's all right though. That's not the point of this segment. If you guys want to hear that argument, I think episodes in previous we've had much further discussions. So
we've had.
that gave
drum roll for the next one.
Drum roll. A lot of people are going to be surprised by this.
I'm not.
Number 2, Intimidator.
I've been saying it all along.
Number 2 is Intimidator 305. It gave 659,438 rides.
Just because you see short lines doesn't mean the ridership is low.
I obviously you're correct, but it never does have any lines ever. I mean, ever. I am in total shock when this ride comes out of the station, when the line comes out of the station. So I mean, I don't know. It's interesting, and I mean, you tried to argue. I don't think the capacity on this ride is that great. It's not bad. It's all right,
But
but
I
it's
mean,
not. I mean, and
you have
the
short. You have.
operations are kind of very bad as well. So I don't
I
know.
mean, the whole park is.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
I mean, it's competition, but like you can't really figure that in if the entire park's operations have been pretty bad. But I mean, the thing about I-305 is it's a short ride. That doesn't always mean capacity, but in certain cases like this, it does.
yeah, and this is
And I
again,
mean, they are decent sized
this is
trains.
rides too because I mean we don't really know how many people rode this, so it could really the actual ridership numbers could be very different and in different orders than.
No, that's right. That's ridership.
Now, this is how many
That's
rides that it was given. This is not how
well,
many
that
people.
no, that's how many people rode it. Like how many? Like if there were 5 people on the train, that was 5 rides.
Is that how they do this? I thought it was actually how many
Yeah.
times the train went through the cycle.
No, no. This is
Are
this is
you?
ridership.
All right. Well, that's not how I interpreted this. I don't know. They don't really go into much detail in the caption about how they count this, but if that's, I'll take your word for it. But
I mean, if that was the case, think about it. Like Apple's Apple would kill everything.
I guess I don't know. That's interesting. But I don't know how they keep track of that because they don't have any like they don't have any toll. Like they don't have tolls that you walk through or anything like that, like Busch Gardens where they actually can
Well,
count the.
actually, a lot of the rides do. Um, but I've kind of there's two things I think go on. One, I think there is a way of manually counting. Like I think sometimes they have, and I'm not saying which method Kings Island or Kings Dominion is doing, but sometimes like the operator would basically
Have a clicker.
take on the control panel. The other thing is that they might actually have some kind of interaction with the on-ride photo system that can actually trigger there's somebody in the seat.
Yeah, maybe, possibly. It's interesting, but yeah, number two was in Terminator 5, and very surprisingly, I did not think that. I mean, Dominator gets long lines, but I thought it was just because it has terrible operations. But apparently, a lot of people ride this as well. 809,078 riders rode
This is
Dominator.
the interesting thing about this report is how low the numbers are overall.
Yeah, because when we compare this to Carowinds in a second, you're going to see how much higher that they had.
Yeah, this is just really seriously like I think this paints a picture of how bad of a year Kings Dominion actually had.
Yeah, because, I mean, you expect normally, I mean, like, Busch Gardens Williamsburg yearly gets about, I think every year that when they release theirs, they get about 2 point. Like, Kings Dominion never really releases their numbers of how many people visited their park, but Busch Gardens will get like 2.5, 2.6 million people coming into their park. And, this isn't, normally a good majority of that is going to ride the roller coasters. And we're not even reaching a million here with Kings Dominion, which was surprising to me. I thought that for sure the number one would have reached a million riders. So this is this is surprising. And when we talk about Carowinds, we go over to Carowinds and we talk about number 5 for them. It's Hurler, and that's already starting out at 500,000, and that's already relatively close to Intimidator 305, which is number 2, which was at 659,000. So there's not really that big of a margin. That's their 5th most popular attraction. Then you talk about their 4th most popular attraction, 875,000. So their 4th most ridden coaster it would be our number 1. That's that's not good. That's not a good thing to be seeing. Yeah. Copperhead Strike had 880,000 riders, which was their new for 2018 attraction, which is a great ride. I love that. No surprise here. Number 2 is Intimidator, and this is where you start to see a big gap, and this is where I was really surprised that Kings Dominion didn't hit these numbers. They had over 1.16 million riders on Intimidator at Carowinds. That is what I was expecting to see with
that's what
some
a
of the
B&M
rides.
should be doing.
Yeah. That's B&Ms are the capacity machines. And then Fury, 1.25 million riders, which is great. And then they even have an honorable mention. Their kids ride, Flying Ace Balloon Race, had 450,000 riders. That's almost up there with Backlot Stunt Coaster. Their kids attraction almost had as much as our actual major coaster. That's just
King's Dominion has a problem,
Yeah, and
but I-305 does not.
I,
Finally, there is documentation to back up what I've been saying.
yeah, I mean it's true, and that's good. It gets good capacity, it gets good ridership, um and it's never has lines, so that's a good thing.
The interesting thing about I-305, I think, and I just really feel this in my gut. I really think I-305 is a lot more popular with the general public than it is with the enthusiasts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And like it's so funny because I hear enthusiasts like, "Oh no, the general public can't take it." No, the general public can.
I,
You're just making an excuse because you don't want to ride it. Like it's too intense for you.
now
Like,
I think the general public like this ride, but I think a lot of them are scared to ride.
oh,
So I think that's the thing.
certainly.
So I think there's
But
a disconnect there. I think a lot of them want to
but
ride.
you have
A
that
lot
with
of them do
any.
ride.
I mean, Magnum is in that category. Millennium Force is in that category. Um,
Top of their
but
dragster.
I really think like I know so many people in the general public that just love I-305, and I know so many enthusiasts like, I'm not riding that again. It's too much. Just so perplexing to me. Like
Yeah,
I love it. I love
I
I-305.
do too. I think it's a great ride.
Love it, love it, love it, love it.
I think you like it a
But
little
our
more.
friend Pam, not a fan.
Yeah. So I don't know. The numbers are interesting there. King's Dominion it seems to be in some and sadly in a decline. But Carowinds seems to be doing strongly, and it's an interesting list that they have consisted here. But finally, it is time to look at the results of our 29 of our tournament Battle of the Ages. We're gonna look at that and figure out what the best coaster year of all time was. And we're narrowing it down to 16 years in the next segment that we call the Break Run. What happened here? Why does this? Why is the Break Run up here? That kind of threw me off there for a second.
What's that?
Yeah, I think you accidentally put. There we go. Break Run was up here for some reason, not down there.
Yeah, so I didn't do anything with that section.
Well, neither did I. So maybe somehow it got copied or pasted or something like that. All right. Are you ready?
Da, 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 da. Oh wait, wrong one.
Yeah, this is the yeah. The Break Run sound effect. All right, I'm gonna get the descriptions up here so I can.
Ooh.
All right. Let's get let's get out of business. Okay, you ready?
Yep, let's do this.
All right, I'm just gonna jump right in. So, Bob, let's jump right into it and talk about the results of our tournament, the Battle of the Ages. This is a bracket in which we are trying to discover the best coaster year of all time. And last week we narrowed it down to 32 roller coasters, and we this previous week let you guys vote on those. And now you guys have narrowed it down to 16 roller coasters. So we're just going to talk about the results of this previous week.
Yeah, actually, hold on a second. We start over.
Yeah.
I need to. My computer's kind of like lagging, and I don't want to. I want to lighten its load before we get into it, and it starts like doing something stupid.
Just
Plus, I
blows.
need to find these tabs too.
Just blows up.
No, you moron. Good lord. The fans on my laptop are just like. Wait, do I have? Oh, there it is. All right, move that over. God, I didn't realize how many tabs I had open. It's bad. Okay, I think that should be good. All right,
Ready?
I believe so.
All right. All right, Bob, let's jump right on into it. We're jumping into our Battle of the Ages tournament in which we are trying to discover the best coaster year of all time. Last week, we narrowed it down to 32 coasters and we'll let you guys vote on it, and now we are down to 16 coasters. We're going to talk about the results of this week's poll, and we're going to let you guys this week vote on the coasters that we have left in the round of 16. So let's talk about the results. So we had originally, we had the 1 seed versus the 9 seed, 2000 versus 2005, and the 1 seed took the victory, 2000. The 1 seed consisted of Millennium Force at Cedar Point, and it also consisted of Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. The 9 seed was 2005, and it consisted of Hades 360, Hydra the Revenge, and Sheikra at Busch Gardens Tampa. So I think this was a pretty good matchup. I definitely understand 2000 with Millennium and Superman. That definitely is understandable. I thought maybe Hades 360 would sway some people because it had that huge corkscrew in the middle of it, and it was a pretty record-breaking coaster for, because Gravity Group. It was the first Gravity Group roller coaster, so I thought maybe that would sway some people, but 2000 stood strong and won.
Yeah, this is kind of a close. Sometimes it's whenever you get the years close together, it's kind of interesting. Um, but yeah, I think the right call was kind of made here.
Yeah, and with Millennium, I think that really, I mean, it was the first full circuit coaster to go over 300 feet, so I think
Yeah,
that really was a big deal for a lot of people. And then
I mean, really, in
Superman.
some ways, you look at Millennium Force as like Magnum's second coming. I mean, it kind of did for the industry what Magnum did in its time.
Yeah, it really proved that
And,
the coasters could
and
go
at the
over
time, we
300.
really weren't chasing these like bizarre records either. Like now it's like the tallest coaster to be opened on a Tuesday with a full moon. Like, I mean, the records today are like stupid at
Yeah.
times, but we really weren't chasing those stupid records back
Yeah, so
then.
this was the real deal with the records they broke.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and so I think, again, I think I agree with you. I think the right call was made for this one. So for the next matchup, we had the 5 and the 4 seed, 2008 versus 2001. And 2008 was a Ravine Flyer 2 at Waldemere, Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland, and T-Express at Everland, which is in Korea. And then the 4 seed was Hypersonic XLC and Flying Ace Aero Chase and X2, which was 2001. And 2004 won. So that was, or 2001 won, which was the 4 seed, which was, I mean, in terms of how we rank these, it made sense. But 2008 was not a shabby year at all, and I definitely that was a tough one for me. But Hypersonic XLC, being the world's first compressed air launch coaster, really I think pushed people to vote for it, and I think it makes sense. And the next two with the 4D coaster aspect really changed the game, so it makes sense.
Also, Phantom's Revenge opened in 2001 as well.
Yeah, but that was not really a new ride, so I didn't really.
No, it was. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, it really was.
It really was, but I mean,
The lift hill may have been the same, but everything else about it.
changed for the better. Yeah, so 2001 definitely makes sense on why we were voting for that. The next battle, the next matchup, was the 11 seed of 2007 versus the 3 seed of 2006. 2007 consisted of Mystery Mine at Dollywood, which is the first Eurofighter to be built in the United States, Maverick at Cedar Point, and Renegade at Valley Fair. The 3 seed of 2006 was what I like to call the wooden renaissance of the 2000s, because we had El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure, which was, a huge, massive coaster that broke a lot of records for wooden coasters. It was the second tallest coaster in the U.S., second tallest wood coaster in the U.S., and the fastest wooden coaster in the world. It also had the steepest descent on a wooden coaster. And then the Voyage had the most airtime of any wooden coaster. And then Tatsu, also the world's tallest, fastest, longest flying coaster, opened that year. So, I mean, that was a great, great year of coasters. 2007 was not bad at all either. But 2006 did take the victory in that matchup. And it is very understandable why.
I actually, another note for 2006 was also Expedition Everest, which was the most expensive roller coaster ever built at its time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
kind of is, I think so. It was a very interesting design, which I think added to some. In some ways, I think it's kind of like it may have been what gave Intamin the idea for the fast switch stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, another great addition to that year that definitely seems to be making its way. I think everyone voted for that. I don't think 2007 even got a vote. So this year seems to be very persistent and could very well end up somewhere. Go in the distance maybe. We shall see. Number 10. The next battle was between this number 10 seed of 1958 and the 2 seed of 2003. And the biggest upset I think of this poll was that the number 10 seed of 1958, which consisted of only one attraction, but that attraction seems to be very important in a lot of people's minds, and I definitely see why. Matterhorn bobsleds at Disneyland, which was the first tubular steel tracked coaster in the world. That beat 2003, which consisted of Top Thrill Dragster, which was the tallest and fastest coaster in the world when it opened, Balder, which is the first Intamin prefabricated roller coaster in Europe, and Thunder Dolphin, which is a humongous, large-scale, one of the only large-scale coasters in a major city. And I'm really surprised at this because, again, I think it's really great that people are taking it into historical significance over like actual how intense and how great the rides are. But I did not expect this, and I'm really actually somewhat pleased that this historically significant ride. I mean, this is one of the only. I think this is the oldest year that we have seen make it to this point, and it's interesting and very good that we saw that.
Yeah, I think just we did have a typo. I believe that's actually 1959.
It is. Yes, correct. 1959, which again doesn't matter too much, but it was a great year for coasters, and it's surprising. I really thought Top Thrill Dragster would carry. I mean, that was such a big deal.
That was kind of. I mean, Top Thrill Dragster was a big deal, but at the same time, I think the technology came with mind's blank.
Matterhorn bobsleds.
Accelerator.
Accelerator
yes. Had the technology of Top Thrill Dragster before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Top Thrill Dragster just kind of pushed the limits of it. And I think in 1959, when you had Matterhorn
bobsleds.
Yeah, I think you just like that was. I mean, you think about it. That's aside from the wooden coaster, that is everything. That is every coaster. I mean, like, where would we be if Arrow and Disney didn't?
We just have a bunch of RMC Raptors, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Or would we still have all wood?
I don't know.
I'm sure we would have got around to the steel coaster eventually, but
yeah.
I mean,
but in terms of how our history did play out, this was a very important moment.
Arrow is the one that shaped how coasters would look.
Yeah, I mean, nothing too drastically has changed since their design. I mean, B&M still producing track that looks very similar. Intamin used some of their influence. I mean, they really influenced in a lot of corporations, a lot of manufacturers that we love and love a lot today, and rank high in
Yeah.
our lists. So that definitely makes sense, and we'll see how far. I'm curious to see how far that ride ends up going. So the next battle we had was between 1998 and 1927, and that 1998 was the 1 seed. 1927 was the 8 seed. So naturally, the 1 seed did win. The 1 seed consisted of Batman the Ride the Chiller at Six Flags Great Adventure, which was the first steel dual track linear induction motor powered roller coaster. Which simplified down to it was just the first dueling LIM launch coaster. So it was cool. It was a very interesting design. I would have loved to ride it. It looked like a really cool, interesting ride. Also that year, Shivering Timbers opened. So I was saying Shivering Timbers earlier. I said that opened like 2005 or something. So I was way out. 1998. So I mean that's the last major coaster that Michigan's Adventure's gotten. So even going back to my point back then, that you got to put that in consideration. Then even longer than I was saying.
Well,
And
they
also,
got Geocomics SLC.
yeah, but come on. Volcano the Blast coaster also opened that year, which was the first launched inverted roller coaster. And 1998 surpassed 1927, which consisted of Cyclone at Luna Park, which was probably the most famous roller coaster in the world. The Cyclone's always mentioned. It's a pop culture icon. Racer at Kennywood is one of the only Mobius or single continuous track racing roller coasters in the world, and it's the only one in the United States. And then Wildcat at Lake Compounce is the oldest operating coaster in the state of Connecticut. So that was good. That was a good one as well. And it kind of sucks to see that get knocked out of there. But
well, I mean, 1927 brought us a lot of good stuff. But I really seriously, I mean, you have the major milestones of like things like 89 with Magnum and 2000 with Millennium Force, things that pushed the industry. But I don't think we had ever seen a technology push like we saw in 1998. I mean, 1998 was just the like cutting edge technology of launches and things like that just really changed the face of coasters. You know, all of a sudden it's not just a lift hill. Like we have some, I mean, obviously Schwarzkopf and Arrow had some launch coasters, but they weren't anything real serious. I think 1998 is when that started to change.
it's really when the barrier got pushed.
Yeah, it's when, I mean, that's when, and it wasn't even just one company. It was Intamin and Premier both. I mean, it was like all of a sudden it's just like this is where we're going. Like let's perfect this technology, and I mean that it just started everything.
Yeah, I mean it really did, and but and again, 1927 was such a good year. I feel like it's just kind of sad to see that get knocked out, but
I
it's
Yeah,
kind of
I
like
do, but I think this is. I mean,
it
I think
just
this
sucks
is.
that this had the harder path. This kind of
Yeah,
this coaster had a hard path. So I mean, obviously 1998, I think in terms of how it impacted the industry is more important, but 1927 definitely was still a good year. So moving on to the next matchup, we had 1924, the 5 seed versus 1999, the 4 seed, and this was a very close matchup, but 1999, the 4 seed came out victorious. 1924 had Giant Dipper at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, Thunderbolt at Kennywood, and Thunderhawk at Dorney Park. And the 4 seed of 1999 had Apollo's Chariot, Dragon Challenge, and Tennessee Tornado. And it was
this
close.
was one. This was a tough one, I think.
Yeah, it was really close. I think it was close to
I mean,
50-50.
those older coasters are all phenomenal and all a big deal even today. But then you have that up against the first B&M Hyper. And I mean that's just tough. That's just such a tough call.
And I think a lot of emotional strings were pulled with Dragon Challenge because a lot of people love that ride.
Yeah,
So
that
that might have
maybe
gotten some sympathy votes.
that could definitely.
And then Tennessee Tornado is dubbed one of the greatest aero loopers, and it was one of the last that they would ever produce. So very well could be that
Yeah,
as well.
Ride of Steel was also there.
Yeah.
Rock and Roller Coaster actually opened that year too.
Yeah, I mean, so there's definitely some good coasters there.
Yeah, there's a lot of we got a lot of good rides there.
Yeah, 1999 was a great year, so it makes sense.
Twister at Knoebels, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense. 1999 passed on, but man, 2024 was a good year too.
Yeah.
So the next matchup we had was the 11 seed of 1992 versus the 3 seed of 1996. And the 3 seed of 1996 did come out victorious. The 11 seed had Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great America, which was the world's first inverted roller coaster. And it also had the Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. However, the 3 seed of 1996 had Flight of Fear, which was the first coaster to use a LIM launch system. It had Wildcat at Hershey Park, which is the first Great Coasters International coaster. And it had Fujiyama, which was the world's tallest roller coaster in the world when it opened in 1996. So, I mean, 1996 dominates. Yes, you have the first B&M invert, or the first invert in general, but, you know, you can't compare that to the first GCI coaster, which is now one of the most popular manufacturers in the world, and the technology of the LIM really influenced what was to come in the next decade.
Yeah.
So
96 was like the like coming attractions for 1998, I think. That was when it was like, hey, can this work?
yeah,
And 1998 was like, oh yeah, it can.
let's press the gas pedal down a little bit harder this time.
Exactly.
All right, so the next matchup we had was the last matchup of the 1990s and the 1920s and 30s. And sadly, I mean, as you guys have probably hopefully you can tell because we just listed them all off for you. None of the 1920s or 30s made it to the round of 16, so we are out of those, which is kind of sad. But the next matchup we had was the 7 seed of 1994 and the 2 seed of 1997. And in this case, the 2 seed did win. So again, pretty predictable there. The 7 seed had Big One at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, Nemesis at Alton Towers, and Desperado at Buffalo Bills Hotel and Casino. 97 was a great year, though, and topped it with Alpengeist, Superman Escape from Krypton, and Steel Force at Dorney Park. So, makes sense. 97 came out victorious. So we're moving on to
that was kind of I think that was a kind of a tough year. One thing I do want to just say, since we've kind of put the 1920s to rest, I do want to just give an honorable mention to the fact that this is right around, I don't know the exact year, but this is right around the time that the upstop wheel was invented by John. His name is
John C. Allen.
Jackrabbit designer.
John C. Allen. Is that not correct? Well, yes.
Let me look this up because I don't want to get this wrong.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, they were. It's
John A. Miller.
John A. Miller.
That's what, yeah. John C. Allen was later.
Yeah, he was later.
John Miller was the creator of the upstop wheel. There's too many Johns.
Yeah, I know.
But it was Jackrabbit actually in 1920 was actually one of the first coasters that actually used upstop wheels. I don't know if it was the first, but it was one of the first.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I am saddened to see that the 20s are knocked out.
Yeah, but that's something that every coaster enthusiast should know. So I just wanted to leave that little note since we're putting the 1920s to rest.
Yeah, all right. So moving on now, we're moving on to the 1980s and the 1960s, which again, pretty much we only have one 1960 park that even made it to the final 32. So, you know, and we'll talk about what the results of that were, but the 60s did not do too well either. Did not do too hot, which makes sense. I mean, they didn't really have the greatest. Even looking back on it,
a lot of rides, but nothing groundbreaking. I think.
So the first matchup is 1989 versus the 9 seed. 1983, 1989 was the 1 seed, and the 1 seed took the dub because it consisted of Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point, and there were other coasters as well, but that was the big one. And I know that's what everyone was when they voted. They cast their vote and they were like, Magnum, yes, you know, that was a changer. Big game changer. That's what a
Yeah,
lot of responses we got. They also had
that's
you had Timberwolf, you had Gordor. I don't know how to pronounce that. Godorix at Park Asterix, which is the first coaster in the world with 7 inversions, which is awesome as well. But that Magnum really changed it. And I believe actually one that we missed out on was Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags Great Adventure, which also opened up that
yes.
year. So it's really important as well. So and it was so that's a big
But
deal. So 1989, big year. Definitely makes sense why that beat 1983.
it was the start of the coaster
It was
wars.
it was crazy. 1983 had Dragon Mountain at Marineland and Colossus the Fire Dragon at Lagoon, which are 2 pretty good coasters, but nothing revolutionary, nothing crazy. So the next battle we had was the 5 of 1980, the 5 seed of 1985 and the 4 seed of 1988. This was a close battle, and we had somewhat of an upset because the 5 seed of 1985 won that year, or won that battle. The 5 seed had Disaster Transport at Cedar Point, Phoenix at Knoebels, which are 2 great rides, and then the 4 seed of 1988 had Avalanche at Kings Dominion, Ninja at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and Wolverine Wildcat at Michigan's Adventure. So it makes sense. The 5 seed is moving on. It has Phoenix, which is one of the most popular wooden coasters in the world, and that's the ride that Bob always says they told him Dick couldn't build it, but he built it anyway. So it makes sense. It's really revolutionary and moves on to the next round. The next battle we had was the 6 seed, 1984 versus the 14 seed of 1964. This is the only 60 year that made it to this round, and that was consisting of Blue Streak at Cedar Point. However, it faced off a really good year. The 6th seed of 1984, Big Bad Wolf opened that year. King Cobra at Kings Island opened up that year. And Ultra Twister at Nagashima Spaland opened up that year. So, yeah, Blue Streak was important. I really don't know how Blue Streak got there, but Blue Streak it really pulled its own weight for a while there, but it ended up losing to a pretty good year, too. So, it definitely makes sense.
King Cobra, that was, I believe, was that Arrows?
Yes, it was Arrows.
Yes, that was the one I was confused about
Last time. Yeah, because last time we said it was a Schwarzkopf, I believe. Yeah, so
Or no, King Cobra. There was Kings Island and King Dominion had way too many kings.
Yeah, they have
King Cobra. That was actually the Togo stand-up.
That was Togo. Yeah, I was about to say, wait a second. I don't think Arrow ever built a stand-up. So.
Yeah, no, there was.
Was there an
That
Arrow?
was Demon at Kings Island.
Yeah, that was the Arrow coaster. That was the
King's
shuttle.
Dominion had a Schwarzkopf launch that I think was King. It was also King Cobra.
Yes, it was.
But it was spelled with a
that was a shuttle. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Crap. Paramount just
stop naming the things King. You get named the parks King. You name the rides King.
Or I guess that was Was that King's Entertainment? I don't know.
Whatever.
It was
it's just too many. Was it King's Entertainment? Oh my gosh. They really. I don't know what it was. They coined that phrase though. They coined that name King. All right. Well, moving on to the next battle, we had the 7 seed of 1980 versus the 2 seed of 1987, and the 7 seed of 1980 actually won that battle. So another upset, and a pretty good one as well. That's a pretty big upset with the 7 versus the 2. 7 consisted of 7 seed of 1980 consisted of Big Thunder Mountain Railway at Disneyland, which is a classic Disney attraction that is very popular. Scorpion at Busch Gardens Tampa, which is a Schwarzkopf multi-looping coaster. And Carolina Cyclone, which is the first coaster to send riders upside down 4 times. So it broke that record in 1980, so that was pretty exciting stuff. The 2 seed of 1987 had Vortex at Kings Island, which is the first coaster to feature 6 inversions. Iron Dragon at Cedar Point, which is just a regular old suspended coaster. Nothing special really there. But Ultra Twister at Six Flags Astroworld was the only coaster in North America to have a barrel roll. So, that's pretty interesting as well. So, the 7 seed took the dub. I don't know where people were... it's relatively actually pretty close battle. I mean, you have Carolina Cyclone, which broke the inversion record, Vortex, which broke the inversion record. You have a multi-looping coaster with Scorpion. You have a multi-looping coaster with Ultra Twister, And then Big Thunder Mountain is a classic attraction, and Iron Dragon's a classic attraction. So
Yeah,
I
but
guess
1980 also brought me. That's why. That's why it's.
yeah, people were like, "Wait a second, isn't that when Bob was born?" Because everyone that voted on Instagram was like, "Isn't that when Bob was born?"
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right. Well, that was the last poll of that region, the 1980s and the 1960s. Moving on to our final
Two
region.
more contests to go.
Yeah, the final region, and this is the most exciting region, and this is the 2000s, and the 2010s, and the 1970s. So the first battle was 2012 versus 2013. 2012 won, but it was very close, I remember. And 2012 consisted of Sky Rush at Cedar Point, which is the tallest fast roller coaster at Hershey Park until Canyon opened this year.
Sky Rush at Hershey Park, not Cedar Point.
At Hershey Park, yes. Leviathan at Canada Wonderland. I'm sure Sky Rush. I'm sure they want Sky Rush to Cedar Point though.
No. It's an Intamin. They don't want it. They don't want it anywhere near them.
Well, maybe in 2012 they might have wanted it. Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland opened up that year, which is the first B&M to go over 300 feet, and it was the largest coaster in Canada when it opened. And then Shambhala, which is considered the greatest B&M hypercoaster in the world, opened up that year. But 2013 also saw some great things. Now we're talking about Cedar Point with Gatekeeper opened up that year, which is the staple front grade attraction at Cedar Point. They redid their entry plaza and everything. It was a big investment for them. Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City was the first wooden coaster in the world with multiple inversions, and it was the first to feature pure wooden coaster inversions and not the steel like a Son of Beast, which kind of cheated the system there with the steel. So this is the first one to have
Son
actually
of Beast actually had a wooden track. It just had a steel support structure.
No, the track was steel for the inversion. So that was a pure steel. It was a pure.
Pretty sure it remained wood.
It's pure steel. I'm 100% confident in that. If I'm wrong, I will give you $1 million. That's how confident I am. And then Gold Striker, California's Great America, also opened, which was California's Great America, had the tallest, fastest, and longest wooden coaster in Northern California. So it was a big year, but 2012 edged it out, and it makes sense why. We had Sky Rush, which is a prototype wing coaster for Intamin, and it's a largely successful ride. Canada's Wonderland, we finally saw B&M could go over 300 feet, and we really since then have seen a lot more. And B&M's kind of become the Giga Kings now because they're really taking it into the new swing. We haven't seen one from Intamin since I-305 in 2010. That's been almost 10 years now. So B&M's kind of taking over the Gigas.
2012 Sky Rush was...
What? I'm talking about the last Giga coaster that was built.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2010, yeah. With Intamin.
I was busy looking up this little tidbit. The loop track on Son of Beast was wood.
No. There's no way.
Son of Beast stats.
I'm curious about this because I've always seen that it's steel. I'm looking at it. It's steel. That is steel. If that is literally pure steel. If that is steel. That whatever you're looking at is wrong. This is a steel coaster track. I'm not. Oh, okay. The rails are wooden. Okay, but the entire. Okay, I guess if you want to. Okay, I get you. But the entire loop is steel, and the support rails are steel. The actual frame of the ride, everything except the actual literal track is steel. But
and it's a wood track.
All right, whatever. But I'm talking about pure wooden inversion. Outlaw Run was the first to feature that. All right, so moving on to the next battle, though, because this is not a time for debate. It's kind of a debate inside of a debate inside of a debate, because this is all a debate segment.
We can debate all kinds of things here.
Yeah, I mean, Coaster Talk Podcast we might as well change our slogan to the home of the coaster debates, because that's all we seem to have.
Yeah.
The next battle we have is the 5-seed of 1979 versus the 4-seed of 2015. And the 5-seed of 1979 took the victory. So, I mean, we have another semi-upset here. The 5-seed of 1979 had the Beast at Kings Island, which remains the longest coaster in the world. And Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at Disneyland is, again, one of the most popular attractions at Disneyland. But the 4-seed of 2005, I am really shocked got knocked out because it consisted of Cannonboat Lagoon, which is one of the most unique coasters we've seen in the last 5 years, definitely. It has that beyond vertical drop, It has the lagoon roll, which is a unique element only on that ride. So, I mean, it's a very unique attraction. Schwarz de Carnen, which is considered one of the most intense coasters on the planet, opened that year. And then Fury 55 at Carowinds opened that year as well, which I will say, Fury at Carowinds really did not do anything for the industry. Everything that it does has already been done, so it really didn't have that big of an impact in terms of, moving the industry forward. So it makes sense. The Beast really changed how people viewed amusement parks. I mean, no one really considered going over that amount
The
of,
first,
and no one has gone over that amount of how long it is now. I mean, it's just crazy.
yeah, if we're wooden, I believe there are some steel coasters that are longer.
Yes, true that. But in terms of wooden
This
roller
long
coasters, yeah.
wooden
In
coaster.
terms of wooden coasters,
2015, though, I mean, the first B&M's first launch that they did themselves
Thunderbird,
was actually a pretty big deal on
yeah,
Thunderbird.
that is a big deal. Yes,
That's this I think is kind of funny. A lot of things happened in 2015, and the Beast happened in 1979, and it's a really close match.
yeah. The Beast really it holds its own. It really holds its own. It is a staple attraction for Kings Island and a very important ride in terms of the coaster industry's history. So we're moving on to the next battle, and we're narrowing it down. We're almost at that. I think this is the second to last battle we have to talk about. We have the sixth seed of 2014 versus the third seed of 1978. So this was exciting because again, this was a higher seed versus a lower seed, and I think it was really close. But 1978 pulled it out. 2014 consisted of Banshee, which was the 14th roller coaster at Kings Island, the biggest investment in that park's history and the longest inverted roller coaster in the world. It had Helix at Leesburg, which is a multi-launching Mack coaster, which is supposed to be one of the best coasters. I've heard a lot of people say it's one of the best coasters in the world. Medusa Steel Coaster is often considered one of the better RMCs out there, and it's consisted of it has one of the only 3 barrel roll jobs in North America. The 3 seed of 1978, however, had Shockwave at Six Flags Over Texas, which is the first coaster to feature 2 consecutive vertical loops. Gemini, which is a huge thing for Cedar Point, which was a big coaster for Cedar Point. It's a very popular ride still to this day. It was the tallest roller coaster in the world when it opened. And Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain, which is remained the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the West. When it opened in 1978, it was the world's largest roller coaster. So that year took it to the next round, but it was close, and it makes sense why. It makes sense. They're relatively similar seating, and these rides are really great. Both years consist of great rides, but I think
Yeah.
in terms of historical significance, 78 it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So the final battle we had was the 7 seed of 2016 versus the 2 seed of 2018. And the 2 seed of 2018 took the victory again. Not too surprised on this one. For the 2016, you had Flying Dinosaur at Universal Studios Japan, which is the world's largest flying coaster. You had Storm Chaser at Kentucky Kingdom, which, in terms of how important it was for Kentucky Kingdom, I think it's more important than how it actually was for like the industry in general. For Kentucky Kingdom, it was huge because it was like their first. It was actually not. It was their second big major coaster since they reopened from being closed as a park. So in terms of their park history, it's important, but in terms of coaster industry overall, it didn't really do much. And then Lightning Rod, which is the fastest roller coaster in the world and the first to utilize an LSM launch coaster, that was big. However, people thought 2018 with Time Traveler, the tallest and fastest full circuit spinning roller coaster, Wonder Woman, the first roller coaster to use Rocky Mountain's construction single rail coaster, and Steel Vengeance with the tallest, fastest, and longest hybrid coaster in the world, they thought that 2018 was more significant.
Here's something interesting about 2018. First of all, I hope nobody voted for 2018 just because of Still Vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hunt you down.
I think a lot of people probably looked at Wonder Woman. I mean, that's a really big thing.
But here's something. I know people are going to laugh at this statement, but I'm actually dead serious. I think one of the things that 2018 brought us was an example of how serious a family coaster could actually be.
Yeah.
Both with Oscar's Wacky Taxi and Merlin's Mayhem, and actually Slinky Dog Dash as well, which I haven't been on Slinky Dog Dash or Oscar's Wacky Taxi. but I have been on Merlin's Mayhem and I love it.
You've been on
And a
Kentucky
lot of
Flyer.
people,
You've been on Kentucky Flyer, Kentucky Kingdom, which is very similar to Oscar's Wacky Taxi.
yes, yes. But like people, there, like I've actually seen people say Oscar's Wacky Taxi is in their top 10. Um,
Yeah, I've heard
I
that as
mean,
well.
that may be extreme, but the point is, I mean, Merlin's Mayhem made it to my top 25. Um, I really think that it like these are these all of these coasters opened in 2018, and I think they were all good examples of holy crap, a family coaster that a 4 or 5 year old would love, adults can actually really love as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it is, and it makes sense that 2018 made it to the next round. We shall see where it ends up. So this is what we're looking at for the Battle of the Ages poll. This is now the round of 16. We're moving on. I'll let you guys vote on that this week. I'm excited to see. We're narrowing it down, and we're soon going to be.
We're getting closer
Yeah,
to that winner.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm really curious to see what narrows it down. The highest seed we have right now is that 10 seed of 1959. I'm curious to see where it ends up going. So that is about it for this episode of Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. Again, check out our social media and keep up to date with our Battle of Ages poll, because we'll be posting all that kind of stuff on our social media, so you guys can vote on the round of 16. Check us out on Twitter at CoasterTalk_pod, or you can also check out Bob's Twitter account at CoasterTalkBob, where he'll be talking about some amusement industry stuff. He'll be giving you his insight on the amusement industry. Check us out on Facebook at Coaster Talk Pod, Instagram at Coaster Talk Pod. Contact us at coastertalkpodcast.com/contact, or if you want to email me, you can email me, James, at coastertalkpodcast.com. It's been a fun show, Bob, and
It certainly has.
yeah, it's been a long one, but there was a lot. There was a lot to cover. It was worth it, and there was a lot to talk about. And we'll see you guys all next week. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye bye. God, that was long. I'm screwed. I have homework, and I'm gonna have school tomorrow probably. So I was hoping the snow would cancel that, but probably not.
Are you guys are really getting a lot of snow?
Yeah. Well, no, we were supposed to, but we didn't. I mean, we got snow. Really? We didn't get a lot. We were supposed to get like 1 or 2 inches or something, and we ended up with only like.
We got like nothing here. There's no snow in our forecast at all.
Yeah, you're like 2.5 hours north of me though, so.
Yeah, but I'm north. That's the thing. It's just weird.
Let's see if my.
Although, yeah, I see the radar. I see down there in that corner, which obviously is reversed, but I see the green.
All right, I have a feeling I'm going to go in tomorrow for school, so I got to go do my homework and stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching the live stream. See you guys. Bye.
See ya.